This is the college football playoffs, and this is the Peach Bowl in a sunny Atlanta. And tonight, Indiana doesn't arrive as a surprise. They arrive as the #1 team in the country, and across the field stands #5 Oregon, a very fast, confident, and explosive team that's built for this type of moment. And I look for this to be a very close game as the line has crept down to 3 now from 4 when it first was announced last week. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. Welcome to the pregame primer. We're going to get you ready to go for tonight, give you some ideas of what to look for in this game tonight in Atlanta. And this is a game, like we have been talking about all week, is a game that Indiana is going to have to, again, play their best game, and it's not going to be as easy as it was against Alabama. And they're playing a team, while they beat them earlier in the year in October 30-20 out in Eugene, that game really has no bearing on what can happen tonight. And you got to think that Oregon is bringing that chip on their shoulder from they feel that game, they weren't totally in the right framework of mindset to get themselves in a position to beat Indiana back in October. But Indiana, again, this team has accomplished so much this season with what they have done. They've gone from a team that no one gave them a chance to repeat in the college football playoffs, let alone get to the semifinals. No one saw them becoming the #1 ranked team in the country. No one saw them beating Iowa, Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, and winning the Big Ten championship. So a lot of things people did not expect. Has that changed? Is tonight the night they expect Indiana to beat Oregon and go to the national championship game? I don't know. I would say it's probably split down the middle or somewhere there in between. But you can bear to get that Indiana is coming in for a full-fledged, big-time war against this Oregon ball club. And it's going to be an interesting aspect to it all when you think about this ball game on a lot of different standpoints. Rankings are one thing, but this game is much bigger than that. It's bigger than the logos, the history. The moment represents a program that committed to doing things the right way, the Signetti way, fast, physical, relentless, and develop that discipline, develop that physicality and belief in what they do, O, D, and K. And the team that didn't shortcut their way here. Indiana did not take the easy man's way here. They didn't catch lightning in a bottle. This was a team that was built in the eyes of their head coach, Curt Signetti, that has spent only 24 months on the campus at Indiana and orchestrated one of the greatest turnarounds in college sports history, getting a team that had gone 3-9 before he'd arrived to being the #1 ranked team in the country. And there's a lot of different things that go into this makeup of this ball club. But when you look at this Oregon team, for Oregon, this game is definitely an expectation. They were picked in some people's eyes as being the team in the Big Ten to be in this position. Early in the year, I thought they were clearly the #1 ranked team based upon what they had coming back on offense and defense and all the things that I thought that Oregon had in its stable as a team. I thought they were definitely a team that was that warranted a #1 ranking. Now, they weren't that high, but I do think in the Big Ten, there was a lot of expectations for them to be the Big Ten champion and be the team that was going to represent potentially the Big Ten in the national championship game. I hope that those that are joining us come on in. Good evening there, Michael. Those that find their way in here, I know it's a little early, some getting off work and such, but there's a lot of fans down in Atlanta as well. So if you don't get a chance to join us, you can catch it right before kickoff as well. But if you have a question, by all means, please feel free to throw it in the chat box and we can probably get it answered. But for Oregon, they've been here before. They've been on the big stage. They know what this moment feels like in a lot of ways as a team, and even as a university when you think about it. But that is some of the things that uh, Oregon is building on, but they're built on a team that's physical. They tackle well. They play with the 11 helmets to the football, very much in the same light as Indiana, and a lot of things can be said for their defense that's being said about Indiana's defense when it comes to playing complementary football, offensively speaking, as well. They're a team that is well coached. They are loaded with talent, and they're very capable of becoming a team that can be very difficult to beat, especially if they get themselves on the right foot. But they'll use the motion, they'll use the up tempo. They'll try to put Indiana in conflict defensively. You're going to see some of that tonight. I look for them to be more up tempo than they were in Eugene, especially with Dante Moore. And I do think that they're going to try, in some respects, to get the ball in his hands in terms of whether it's throwing it or putting him on the perimeter, because he kind of becomes that extra +1 against the defense. And he's a very, very talented quarterback. With Indiana, this is a game for Indiana's defense to continue to do what they've done. Trust what their eyes are seeing. Don't chase ghosts. Play sound in their gaps. Do your job. Be 1 of 11. And when all these 1 of 11s combine together to form that true team defense, they're very tough to beat. Very tough to beat. They got to force Oregon into the long drives. They must make them earn every inch that they get tonight and make them convert third downs, but make sure it's third and long. If they can be as effective on first and second down defensively and put Oregon in uncomfortable positions, especially with Dante Moore, he is the type of guy that can become frustrated and make poor decisions and try to force things. Now, we talked about the 2 tight ends that they've got in this ball game. The first game, Indiana rarely gave them anything. They only had 3 receptions in that game against Indiana, but look for their 2 tight ends. 18, I think, is Sadiq or Saded, and number 9 are the 2 tight ends. And they like to work them in the middle of the field and get them in mismatches with linebackers. So that is something to keep an eye on with Oregon in terms of what they like to do in their passing game. They like to involve the tight end a lot, and Indiana took that away in the first game. The other thing is offensively is, again, trying to maintain a sense of balance in their run game and pass game. Don't try to make it all on one play. Just like last week against Alabama, take what the defense gives you. I thought they were very good with that a week ago, especially Fernando and his decision making. And of course, Mike Shanahan, the coordinator, I thought he did an excellent job as well. But the biggest thing is, can Indiana continue to do what they've done to about every team this year, is win the field position battle, create the long field for the opponent and a short field for Indiana's offense, because that is how they've won their games this year. They've been very good with that field position aspect of this year when you think about it. Looking at both of these offenses, we've talked about this this week on the tailgate. Again, Indiana averaging about 41 points a game, where Oregon is right there at 38. About the same yards per play. Third down conversions, Indiana, 56% is a crazy number on third down conversions. And that's because their effectiveness on first down has been stellar. And you can even say the same thing. Anytime you're above 45% in third down conversions, you are doing really good on first and second down. Indiana has just done exceptionally well. Red zone TD percentage, Indiana at 72% and Oregon's at 64%. Again, a game tonight, when you get in the red zone, you're going to want to get points. But at the end of the day, get touchdowns, get 6 points. If you have to settle for 3, then that's fine. But the more that you can put points on the board, the better in that respect. And then you can see mostly identical in the sense of what they like to do in the run pass averages, very similar teams in that regard. So two teams that are, that are built to run the football, but at the same time, they can push the ball down the field. And you got to be worried about explosives. In the Indiana, the first game that they played, Surratt had a great game. He hurt them in one-on-one situations, as did Omar Cooper. Charlie Becker didn't play in that game. I don't even think he might have got a couple plays, and maybe that was it. How does he figure into this game tonight? Because he's been one of the best receivers against man-for-man coverage. How is Oregon going to play Indiana? Are they going to try to pressure Mendoza and play man? Are they going to be more try to keep him in front of him and play more of a two-shell look? Indiana has got a lot of answers for what a defense wants to do, and they adjust accordingly. I like the RPO game. I think that's something that they can get back involved with and continue to move Mendoza in the pocket to change the launch point, because you've got two big time end rushers, Ugalungale and Tatum, 44 and 10. Those two guys are big time rushers that can create problems for your tackles who are on an island against them. And you're going to have to figure ways to beat them one-on-one. Now, Indiana did that pretty effectively in the game in Eugene. When you look over at the defenses in this situation, again, Indiana, in some ways, it's just crazy what they've been able to do, especially with their defense this year and Brian Haynes and what that side of the ball has done. They've only given up 10.3 points a game. They held Alabama scoreless the entire game last week, only giving them 3 points. Again, third down conversions, they're incredible. They have been all year, 28%. That's been a key component, as has been the red zone touchdown percentage. You can see the difference there, where Indiana has only given up 26% of their opponents' encroachment into our red zone. 26% is all they've gotten in terms of points on like touchdowns, where Oregon, once you've got it in the red zone against them, they are giving it up 68% of the time. So it's a pretty big differential there. And then when you look at the sacks and this and that's, look at that from this perspective, Indiana had 42 and 29 to Oregon in the game that they played in Eugene. And Indiana had 6. They sacked Dante Moore 6 times in that game. A couple things. Let's see here to make sure I'm not missing anything. Appreciate you guys all jumping in here. I know it's kind of early. James, appreciate you, my man. Robert, will the Ducks try to convert on fourth down? I don't think there's any question that they will take their calculated risk on when they go for it. With the quarterback they have, the element that he can run the ball, they've got some pretty, really good running backs as well. I think if the advantage is there to do it, I think they'll do it. Now, I don't think they're going to do anything like Alabama did, where they risk the fourth down deep in their own territory. I think this is something that you'll see out towards midfield or even encroaching in the Indiana side of the ball, in terms of the side of the field. But you got to feel confident that you can go up against Indiana, especially in short yardage situations, and win that matchup for short yards. Now we'll see what all transpires in that respect. But yeah, I would expect them to try to do some of that stuff when you look at this offense and what it's built around. Very similar to Indiana in that respect. Run game, very powerful run game. About the same with Indiana, both averaging well over 200 yards a game in the running department. So again, whoever rushes the ball most effectively tonight will be the team that probably wins. I mean, when it comes right down to it, whoever can run the ball more effectively will probably win this game tonight. So that's one thing to look out for. And the first one, Indiana did quite well and surprised me even so, because again, this defensive line for Oregon is a very tough unit to go up against. Washington, the kid inside, is a beast. And then I've already talked about the two edge guys. So it's still going to be a monumental task to get on schedule and run the ball effectively. But I do think Indiana will do that. And I do think Black and Hemby will find their lanes to make the yardage, much like they did out in Oregon in that respect, too. You know, some of the things to look for tonight when you look at this, and I've said this all week as well. Some of there's three categories that I look at in when it comes to keeping track of. Of course, the turnover margin. Indiana has been one of the best in the country all year. They're plus 18. Oregon's a plus 9, but Indiana's been tremendous at getting turnovers. The red zone efficiency, again, Indiana has been very good with that, even when they've had to rely on the kicker to get 3 points. They've been very consistent in making that occur. And the other one, too, that I pay a lot of attention to is points off of turnovers, which Indiana has been tremendous on all year, 113 points off of turnovers. And again, that's a great sign of complementary football, taking advantage of a mistake by your opponent and making them pay for it by putting points on the board. Indiana's done that quite well. The other category you could also take a peek at in this ball game, if you're looking at halftime or statistically, is explosives. Is how many explosive plays each team has in the first half. The team that usually has the most explosive plays, these are the plays that are about 20 plus in yardage, are the team that usually wins the game. You know, those teams that get the biggest chunks of yardage in a game are the ones that usually win. Indiana has been quite good at getting their explosives, whether it be a running or throwing it. They've done it pretty good all year long, as Oregon. And, you know, they got a big time touchdown throw on Indiana in that first game of about 45 yards on the hard play action pass that they threw up over the top of the safeties that got too caught up in the run action. So again, explosive plays is always something to look at. But for me, I watch those three categories as the game goes on and where the teams are. And like I said, the explosives in this ball game will be a key component. Now, the other thing that you look at in the game like this is what is the keys to win for Indiana tonight? You know, the first thing that they got to be able to do is start fast. They got to start fast. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is they just get going from the get-go. They get out, get going, and get themselves in great position from the start. You know, don't take unnecessary sacks. The game against Alabama and that first drive, they took 2 sacks on that first drive and they never, it never amounted to anything. Now, they did come back and get themselves going after that. But again, don't put yourself behind the hole. Start fast, get yourself going so that you can get out and take advantage of what Oregon's going to give you as a offense. So that's one key component in this category is starting fast and putting yourself in the best possible position offensively from the get-go, and that helps as well as the special teams as well in that category. The other thing to worry about is trusting your identity. This goes on both sides of the ball. Don't try to be something you're not if something doesn't go your way. Stay the course. And I know sometimes that's a hard thing to do, especially if you think something's not working, you got to start doing something completely different. Indiana has been good at what they've done all year by trusting their identity and maintaining that through the entire game. Offense, defense, special teams, do not try to be something else. You've gotten here because of how you play the game, and that fast, physical, relentless mentality has paid dividends as they have done that all year long on both sides of the football in that respect. And the other thing is finish the fourth quarter. And what do I mean by this? This game will probably be more of a 4-quarter game, and you could say that about the first one. Whoever gets that extra push in the fourth quarter is going to be a chance to win it. And when you got the opportunity to put it away, you got to finish the fourth quarter. Even the game last night, you could see where that was such a back and forth game that um, the Ole Miss that he missed that field goal off the upright kind of changed the complexity of that game in some respects. But um, you got to be able to finish the fourth quarter. Indiana did that at Oregon, even after throwing a pick six. I mean, they had the uh, big drive right after it that he hit Surratt on it and stuff. Let's see. No, I don't think Jim won't be honest right now. He's it's too hectic in the arena down there, and the audio and stuff is too much of a problem. So I kind of do my thing on this pregame show, but he's I'm sure he's wound up and ready to go because it'll be a great atmosphere to cover a ball game in. But if Indiana can do that, start fast, trust their identity, and finish the fourth quarter, I think it's going to be a good night for Indiana when it comes to the scoreboard and such. So that's going to be a key component of it. The other thing too in this respects is how does special teams figure in this ball game? As we saw last night, pretty big. It can be a big factor in games this year, and Indiana has done quite well in special teams. And again, that has gone a long way for them winning field position when it comes to that aspect of things. Indiana has always done well in that category. That's one thing that I think that Indiana does well is special teams. So field position, making sure you cover, don't give any cheap big plays. I said this as well. They've got to be alert for any fakes that Oregon may try to run. Dan Lanning will run fakes. He has done it all year, whether it's field goals, whether it's extra points, even when it's punts. You got to be aware of that situation where you think for pretty good percentages is that he will kick it away is the time that he takes a chance and tries to steal a possession away. And that's what you got to be aware of. So special teams have to always be aware of that and make sure they clear their responsibilities in that respect. So again, special teams play a part of that. Good to see you, Justin. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are in your shoes as well. Rudy says he's not predicting Alberto tonight, but he does say Indiana by 14. Well, who knows what will happen there. I mean, we talked about that as I came on. The line is shifted to 3, and it started at 4. So there's been money that's been placed on Oregon pretty exclusively to bring that spread down a little bit. So some things to keep and watch on there, but it should be a dandy of a game. And again, going back to the special teams and games where you've got 2 equally matched opponents, that is the area that can win or lose you a game. Guarantee it. It has happened. You don't, missing a bunny field goal or hitting the upright like what happened last night, missed PAT, those type of things. Those are the type of things in a special game like this that can ultimately cost you with some of that aspect of stuff. Again, going back and looking at some of the players to watch tonight. Again, we've talked about Dante Moore. Some people have him as being the number 1 choice in the NFL draft as if he comes out. Some even think better than Fernando. I mean, we'll see in that category, but he's had a heck of a season. 73% passes. He's only thrown 9 interceptions, 28 touchdowns. He is like any quarterback. As he goes, the offense goes. And I think that's going to be true tonight. The big thing with him is he has the ability to run the football. Now, he doesn't like to do that. He would prefer to throw it. And you'll see times where he has ample opportunity to run the ball, but he'll end up throwing it. because he just doesn't like to run the ball. And I think if Indiana can disrupt him and get after him again, like they did in the first game, 6 sacks, he gets to pressing a little bit. So that'll be a key component to Watts. Their big running back, Davis, is out. Now, before I came on tonight, there is speculation about Whittington, whether he is going to be available. There was a running back that had entered the portal and still, I think, is in the portal that is going to come and play tonight because they were so short-handed at the running back spot. So that is an interesting dynamic to keep an eye on because, again, remember, this is a team that likes to run the football, but they are going to be without some of their best rushers. But the Whittington kid is a viable player. He played well in the first Indiana game, and he's got some good speed in there. Their big man on the outside, the guy they like to take as a deep threat, is Malik Benson. Definitely a guy you got to keep an eye on in terms of his vertical presence. He's the one that caught the big touchdown pass in the first game on the big play action pass. They're the ones that, he's the guy that they'll try to single up and go one-on-one, whoever they got. Now, hopefully, you would think that Pons will be on him for the most of the night, but Indiana doesn't flop their corners that much. So just as much as Pons has got to be ready to go, as does Sharp, because they're going to try to get him down the field vertically to get that big play. This is the two tight ends. Sadiq, 18, again. They love him down the middle of the field. They want to get him up against linebackers. He's a big kid. He's 6'3", big body kid. He had 530 some odd yards. And then Jamari Johnson had 427, and he complements him real well. Johnson had a big vertical catch against James Madison, their first touchdown, that he was able to convert the catch into 6. And like I said, when Indiana played Oregon the first time, these two only had 3 total receptions in that game. Look for Oregon to really force this issue tonight of getting their tight ends involved in the passing game early against Indiana, doing any type of, bootlegs, sprint out passes, easy throwing catches, but they want to get those guys involved in the game as much as possible. Uliongale, this is the one I was telling you about. He's got 6 sacks on the years, 9.5 TFLs, 6 quarterback hurries, 4 fumbles. He is an elite pass rusher. He is a big-time dude, 6'5". He's 275 pounds. In the first matchup, Indiana pretty much neutralized him. They did a good job on him, as they did Tatum. This is another kid. Again, on the other side of the fence is this kid. He's also a big elite pass rusher, and Indiana did neutralize him in that first matchup out in Oregon. But those two guys, Indiana has got to do exceptionally well with their tackles against those two tonight. It'll be pivotal in that respect. So the big time guy inside is the Mary Washington. He's a guy that is a force, 6'3", 330 pounds. He's strong. He occupies the gaps. They like to twist him and move him. And he's a guy that Indiana's going to have to do well inside for their inside run game. Linebacker, Bochetter, is a kid that you love the way he plays. He reminds me a lot of Aiden Fisher for Indiana. And this kid plays just as hard and is a very good linebacker. He led them in tackles when Indiana played him in October. Look for him to be actively involved. As we know as well, Dylan Thimanim, the kid from transferred from Purdue, very good ball player. First game, he was pretty much neutralized got ran over a couple times, but you can guarantee he's salivating for a rematch. And he's a really good ball player that can make a lot of plays in space, as well as be a guy that can be around the ball. Again, on the outside, Aaron Flowers, again, he's a big-time cover guy, 6 foot, 210 pounds, but he's a guy that covers in space really well. Indiana went at him. They had some success against him in the first contest. And then Brandon Finney Jr. This is the kid that got the pick six against Fernando on the poorly thrown over cross route to EJ Williams. Finney picked it off and took it back for a touchdown. And this kid's only a freshman. He's 6'2", 203 pounds, is a definite ball player with an exclamation point. And again, he's another guy that makes plays in their secondary. And if you make mistakes with the football, he's the guy that may find it in his hands when it comes to that. So Indiana is going to have to be very well aware of that tonight when it comes right down to it. Looking at the goals that I kind of looked at the beginning, we'll talk about again, Indiana staying out of second and long, again, goes back to the efficiency aspect of first and second down. They got to put themselves in a position where they can be in position to convert on third down by being third and medium or third and short. Then you look at dictating the pace. I like to see them change up the tempo some. I really would. Going some of the no huddle, trying to keep Oregon off balance in that respect. Doing that, they've got to find ways to neutralize that edge rush of Oregon, whether that's screen passes, whether it's the quick screens outside or the tailback screens or draws. Even Indiana did a couple quarterback draws in that game and had pretty much success with it. Of course, you got to eliminate the negative plays to stay on schedule. Don't take the unnecessary sack. And that's something that Fernando has done, is taken sacks when it was unnecessary. Get rid of the football, line up 2nd and 10, and not try to hold on to it and thinking that something will develop. And that's what happened against Alabama, especially those first 2 plays. He just held on to it too long. And then, of course, we've talked about the efficiency aspect of things. When you look at defense, pretty simple. Get them off schedule. Eliminate explosive plays. Don't give them anything. Make them earn it. Control the edges. Don't let them get to the perimeter. Do not let Dante Moore get on the perimeter. Win the third down battle. That's something that they are elite at in that corner, in that category. 28% is the only amount that an offense is converting against Indiana. Pressure Dante Moore. Don't let him escape. But if he gets to the perimeter, stay in coverage because you know that he likes to throw it. Create turnovers. This defense has done it all year. They're plus 18. They're good at it. Find a way to get turnovers. And then, of course, make them hurt them with it and get points on the board, which they have done this year, getting 113 points off of turnovers. Win the red zone. If they get there against like Alabama did, they held them to 3. Going to have to be the same thing tonight. Do not let them get points inside the red zone. Make them kick field goals when it's absolutely possible. And then when you look at the special teams, win the field position battle. Score or set up the score in your kicking game. Be 100% on your field goals from 40 yards and in and PATs, and be alert for fakes because they run them. Those are things that this team has to be ready for tonight as they get ready to take on the number 5 team in the country, the Oregon Ducks. So again, going to be a great matchup. Do I think Indiana wins this game? I do. I do think Indiana wins this game, but I do think it's going to be a close game. This is one of those 24-21, 25-20 type of ball games tonight. I don't necessarily see it be a shootout. That would, kind of like what it was last night. It ended up being more of a shootout than anything. But it'll be interesting to see how this game flows tonight, especially early on. And again, Indiana will have to play their best game. The margin of error is razor thin. But at the end of the day, if Indiana continues to do what they've done all year, I do think they win this game against Oregon and will play Miami in the national championship game next week. Well, that should be it for the pregame primer. Remember, kickoff starts at 7:30 tonight on the mothership, ESPN. So get yourself ready for that. Get you something to eat here, maybe a beverage or two, and get yourself ready to watch a great game tonight. We'll have a recap of everything on the tailgate next Monday, of course, like always. And if things present themselves tonight, maybe a post-game show, depending on situations and stuff. But look at our Twitter at Hoosier Tailgate for any announcements of a post-game show after this ball game tonight. But never fear, we'll be back Monday with a full recap of Indiana and Oregon at the Peach Bowl tonight. Enjoy the game. Have a great weekend. We'll see y'all next time here on the Hoosier Tailgate on thehoosier.com. Good night, everybody.